Oh, what about now? What's up, Bob? Thanks for calling that out, y'all. So you guys should be getting audio now. Had some issues with the connection here. Can you hear now, Joe? Can you hear now? Bueller? Bueller? All right, cool. Well, let's just start over then. Sorry, guys. Sorry for the technical difficulties today. Very exciting morning. We saw Bitcoin hit an all-time high, new all-time high. Seen a little bit of a pullback since then. The stock markets are getting hit a little bit too. I think that has to do with the bond market. We've talked a lot about that recently. I'm going to dig in more on that today. Got you, Ferris. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Joe's in the house. What's up, Joe? Hope y'all are having a wonderful day. We're going to talk about Bitcoin. We're going to talk about the altcoins and DePIN. And we're going to talk about the bond market, of course, and some other fun global news stories. I am going to be on at 3 o'clock. I'll be on Julie's live stream as well as a guest on there. If you guys didn't join yesterday, I had Tyler with Unleashing DePIN on, and they are launching a new version of DePIN Pulse, where they're pulling together like Who Loves Burrito and a couple other sources, and they're creating a kind of like all like the go-to place for DePIN specific things. I'll pull it up today just to show you guys again in case you missed yesterday. But let's see. My quote of the day as I was reading that, I realized my audio wasn't working. Joe says Julia's hot. Yeah, I like Julie. Julie's cool. My quote of the day is focus on the journey, not the destination. And joy is found not in finishing activity, but in doing it. And I'll tell you what, this is the truth. I think a lot of times we get really focused on the end goal and we don't focus enough on our day-to-day and enjoying the process. And I think sometimes we got to like stop to smell the roses, as they say, touch some grass, enjoy your day-to-day. Enjoy your day-to-day. She said, I'm here. Joe said that was a question. You're full of, I'm not going to say it, but yeah, we don't believe you, Joe. That was not a question. That was not a question. You were making a statement. We know it. Anyway. But we got a fun session for you all today. Julie, thanks for coming in today. Appreciate it. Let's go ahead though. Let's pull up the Bitcoin chart because we saw today some interesting things. Look at this. We got into the all-time high. Yeah, we jumped up above 109,000. Got a little bit of rejection down there. If you look at what's happening in the overall stock market, I think maybe that's part of it. There's probably a lot of sell orders that were sitting right at that all-time high, kind of waiting for us to get there, I imagine. But I do think that we have better times ahead, particularly May, June, maybe into July. I am a little bit cautiously optimistic. I'm going to cover a little bit more of why that is, but let's look at the total altcoin market cap. So this is the market cap excluding Bitcoin. Guys, we've seen a nice run up. Remember the fear in the market not too long ago. I mean, this was back in April. Things were a little brutal. So I know we haven't seen the price action we want to see in alt quite yet, but this is a nice improvement for sure. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a breakout here. And I'm gonna cover some reasons why. But if you look at, I just did this altcoin search, and the sentiment is changing, guys. Like, look at altcoin starts on May 25th. Look at that. We also have, let's not mess this up. Alt season's almost here. Bitcoin all-time high, alt season. This is all this morning, right? Guys, look, a lot of people are expecting alt season. Bitcoin dominance can't rise forever. I agree. Altcoin season is imminent. You know, what we tend to see is that Bitcoin pumps and then we see money flow into alts. I'm going to pull this up. I don't normally show this. Julie shows this every day. If you guys don't go on her live stream, you should. You should be. We see a lot of green in the markets today. This is the daily. So this is good. This is the top 100 alts. Obviously, we haven't seen the pumps in DePIN quite yet. Like we want. There are a lot of lower cap alts though. I mean, helium's in here. We're seeing a little bit of helium. We're seeing some positive price action. That's a good thing. In Bitcoin dominance, Julie loved the bubbles. She loves the bubbles. I agree. It's great. I mean, it's great. I don't show it every day. I don't want to steal your thunder. I don't want to steal your thunder. Let's see here. So we got Bitcoin dominance. Really, for us to see alt season, we need to see money flow into alts. It makes sense. This is so Bitcoin dominance. I talked about this a lot, so I realize I've never explained it. I'm sure most people know what it is, but basically it's a percentage looking at the total market cap of all of crypto. What percentage of that is consistent of Bitcoin? Okay, so it makes sense. As the percentage drops, that means that altcoins are becoming a larger percentage of the total market cap. Generally, we need to see that get into the mid 50s to low 50s, and then we see alts start to go parabolic, and that's when things get fun. That's when things get fun. I'll tell you what, though, it has been feeling a little bit like this. You know, we're with friends. We're with our friends. They're having a great time dancing, and we're like over here. We're like, yeah, we're having a great time too. But why aren't our alts doing what they're supposed to be doing? What's happening? You know, and she's a good with you guys too. Couple, you know, we're getting there, guys. We're getting there. Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't worry. I think we're getting there. If we look at the fear and greed index, you know, we've seen a couple of peaks this year. By the way, my normal fear and greed index chart is not working today. I don't know why. Their website seems to be down. I hope that's not a forever thing. What did Jim say? HMT grant flow will help pump. Yes. Yes, I agree, Jim. I talked about that. I'll pull that up again today. For anyone that missed the show a couple days ago, Helium got a $50 million grant. That's a big time. It's a big time announcement. Now, I want to say there are some reasons to maybe take a different outlook on things because you look, we saw these two peaks on the green index, and what we saw this market cycle is after we saw up getting this green area, we saw within 2 to 3 weeks the market peak out, and we're coming back up again. We're not quite there yet, but if we look at the last market cycle, guys, we saw this twice, and we saw a nice little pump up, and then boom, things were over. And the question is, like, is that the case now? Are we seeing the two tops, and then is this going to fail, and are we going to drop back down again? I don't think so. I think there's reasons to be optimistic that we have not topped out. For one, this is a coinglass.com. It shows there's 30 different parameters they look at to mark the top of the bull run. Not a single one of them has hit. Not a single one. Okay, so still looking good, in my opinion. The fact that 0 of these have marked the market top, I think we still have a ways to go, y'all. But getting into... But I forgot to play my transition. We talk about the deep. Let's talk about the actual DePIN projects. Some things happening out there. If you're in New York for the Solana conference, they've got some what do they call them? Gosh, honey. I forget what they're. Wow, I'm drawing a blank. Anyway. People pay for these, right? The companies that want imagery in these locations, honey bursts, that's the name I'm looking for. If you go and map these, you get extra honey, you get paid extra. So definitely check that out if you're out there. Up, down, no matter. DCA rules. I agree, Justin. The markets are down. I'm always DCAing in to my conviction plays. That's the name of the game. The other name of the game, though, is as the market gets overheated, make sure to lock in some profits, y'all. I'm telling you. That doesn't mean you don't believe in the project. Okay, I talk about this all the time, but there's still a lot of volatility in crypto. And if you don't play the volatility at all and you just hold bags forever, you do miss out on some potential gains, in my opinion. But everyone needs to come up with their own strategy. Looking at Hive Mapper and the price, if it pulls up here. Guys, I mean, we saw obviously the huge climb. This was back when the Coinbase listing took place. Actually, never mind. This is the 1 month. That's the Coinbase listing back here. But if we look at the month, we are starting to climb back out. I mean, look, DePIN's gotten beaten down. Alt's gotten beaten down. The Hive Mapper just announced, a partnership with Lyft. Like they're doing big things. I am hosting their AMAs from now on. I've seen some people have reached out to me with some good questions for the next AMA. We're doing it every quarter. And Ariel's giving me free reign to push him on things. So if you guys have things you want me to ask him, let me know. Because the one thing they've told us they're going to do is be better about transparency. That's one of the main things I hit them on. So I appreciate the fact that they are making an effort to do that. Helium Mobile, look at this. They have gained 11,000 new phone plan subscribers in the last 7 days. That's pretty substantial growth. Even Flux is down here. That's impressive subscriber growth. That is. Even Daba Network. Oh, what I think Joe meant to say BS. Probably he said B. Joe. Joe's a troll. He loves to mess with people. He loves to. And I'm not saying some of he calls out a lot of things that are valid that other people, contrarian view. I'd say other people aren't willing to call out. Joe will tell you how it is. I like that about him. Let's see here. He said, "Yep, yep." All right, Helium. We are at 390 again. Next thing got up to almost $60 in the last market cycle. The fundamentals behind Helium, I bring it up a lot. They are there, and it did move back into the top 100 as far as market caps go. And I think it has a long way to go, once market conditions get better. But I do like what they're doing. One of the mentions was about their $50 million grants. Let's just go in and pull that up real quick. I'm sure we can just pull that up pretty easily. There we go. $50 million grant. So if you are a deployer, you can apply for this. Basically, they are kind of taking the approach of like a Daba network, where they are purposely putting installations at places where they're going to get usage, where they're needed. They're partnering with people that are willing to deploy in those areas, that know what they're doing, that can do a good install. So you can apply for this and essentially get funding to build out the network and get rewards for that. So that's pretty cool. I think that's a really good move. I think we're going to see more projects do that. We're seeing WeatherXM do some of that as well. I think it's smart. The other DePIN project we're going to talk about is Streamer, y'all. Now, Streamer's been around for some time. They had 7 years before they had their their mainnet launch. They have a enterprise grade solution where they're doing decentralized data streaming. But the main thing I want to talk about here is that they're launching Streamer TV, guys. This is coming very soon. I'm going to be streaming on their platform. I'm pretty excited about that. And if you look at the token that powers all this, y'all, we're sitting at like a $19.69 million market cap. Are y'all paying attention here? Because I can tell you I certainly am. And looking at the market cap, let's see here. They got up to 221 million. Whew. So we are a far cry from that. I'm not saying that that's where we're headed here. That market cycle is quite different, but I do know this: the product's getting a lot more usage than it was back then. The fundamentals are a lot stronger than it was back then. So there's a lot of reasons to like Streamer. At the very least, keep an eye out for Streamer TV. I think that it's going to bring a lot of eyes to the project. So very exciting stuff there. Someone asked, is there a map where deployment is needed? That's a good question. Let me see. I did pull up the details. I wonder if they have a link down here for it. Is it in? No, it's just the picture. There was I covered it the other day. There was a link there. I think it was New York, I believe is the city they're looking at. I don't know if there's a map that exists, but there is an official link where you fill out the application for the project, or to get the grant rather. And I know there's more details there. So if there isn't a map, I'm sure there's something that is similar that you can utilize to see where the deployments are needed. Oh, man. But, by the way, we are going to be in Vegas next week, a bunch of us, and we are planning on doing like a DePIN get-together. So if anyone is going to be out there in Vegas, let us know. Let us know. We don't know which night yet, but I'm sure all of us will put it out on X, on our socials, and announce where that's going to be. All right, man. That's the DePIN side of things. I have some info on the broader crypto news I want to cover here. Appreciate you all. It's a lot more. It's a lot of fun when people are interacting. So throw the comments over. Oh, make sure to like and share. If you don't follow me on both X and YouTube, please do so. I decided, by the way, because I break this down to like 4 sections every day. So I'm going to basically splice out the DePIN section, the crypto section, the macro, econ, and global news. I'm going to post this all separately on each because one thing I've noticed with YouTube is they're really bad about, if you're doing lives, getting the word out. Like if people have notification setup, that's one thing, but like my videos are all in one section. You have to go to like the live tab to even see my videos, which is kind of ridiculous. So I'm going to break it down to make it more digestible and easier to find for people pretty soon here. But that said, please like, because it does help the algorithm. All right, let's get into the broader crypto news. Y'all check it out. Bitcoin is climbing. Earlier today, I actually had surpassed Amazon. That's wild. Gold, obviously, the king for now. For now, it's the king. I don't think it will be that way forever. We'll see. Bitcoin's coming for you. We got Microsoft and Nvidia, Apple, Amazon. I mean, the fact that Bitcoin is where it is, that is wild. I forget what Satoshi, the creator of Bitcoin now is like, forget, he passed somebody, he or she, we don't know. Really, I forget who it was. Somebody like, maybe like Bill Gates or something, somebody recently, as far as being one of the most richest people in the world. Most people think Satoshi is no longer with us. So those million tokens are likely never going to actually hit circulation. So, or they'll be lost, in other words. In fact, it's estimated like 20 to 25% of the total supply of Bitcoin will never be put into circulation because it's lost. I don't think that's really factored into the price, in my opinion. How about this guy? $1 billion Bitcoin long on 40x leverage, the $1 billion position right now. Who is that? They must know something. I can't imagine they're that big of a degen. They have to know something. That's crazy. Raoul Paul, we've talked about this a lot. The correlation with Bitcoin in the global money supply. I think we're going to find out very quickly in the next month or so how much of this is global money supply driving the price of Bitcoin versus how much of it is Bitcoin decoupling and becoming a safe haven and digital gold, if you will, with the fiat money system failing. And I think alts are going to tell us that story, because if it is driven by global money supply, we should see alts start to make a pretty big move here in the next few weeks to a month or two, I guess. If it is the decoupling and it's people looking to diversify from fiat, we might not see such a big move in alts. It might just be Bitcoin leading the way. So I think alts are going to tell us the story here, and it might be a mix of both. But there is certainly correlation, y'all. This is basically the global liquidity, and it takes time. This is a 12-week offset. It takes time for that to get through and have its impact and find its way to Bitcoin. Now, I will say there is money entering the markets. This is Tether just printed another $2 billion. So generally, when people move into stablecoins, it's because they intend to make purchases. So we'll see what happens there, but definitely a good sign. That's for sure. South Korea's pension fund just revealed that they've been buying up MicroStrategy. So we're seeing so many big buyers come in. Blackstone just announced that they're coming in. By the way, I should mention, I don't think I mentioned this before. This little Grok symbol up here is really important. Anytime I'm reporting on any of these things or sharing this news, I always click on this to double check, because there's a lot of fake reports out there. You always want to fact check everything. What's up? What's up, Alpha Junkies? welcome. Um, but you always want to fact check that. And then on the right side, it'll tell you like, hey, is this valid? And it'll give you sources. So you can pull up web pages from different news sources where that came from. So I highly recommend when you're looking at stuff on Twitter, always use this like grok symbol to make sure that there are valid sources, so that you're not being misinformed, because there is unfortunately some of that out there, not just on X, with our media too. So always, it's on us to double check our sources. But this is a big deal, y'all. This is a $1 trillion Blackstone. I thought it was funny in the source here. It said, despite some hype, some X users said that Satoshi might not be very happy about these large institutions buying and entering the Bitcoin space. And I bet they're right. I bet he wouldn't be, super happy about it, because this is about us taking back our financial system, so the people can win. Unfortunately, a lot of retail was selling their Bitcoin, and institutions have been buying it. We got to stop that. Stop letting them buy our Bitcoin for cheap. Got to make it a little bit harder on them. Here's that article, by the way. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal. The other thing is this, what is it called? MetaPlanet. So MetaPlanet, you guys know obviously what MicroStrategy is. MetaPlanet is basically the Japan version of that. So there's this business that's just buying up Bitcoin. We are seeing this massive short squeeze take place today. And it's super interesting. So just basically the highlights here. The US and German exchanges offer significantly lower liquidity compared to Japan. So short sellers, as Bitcoin appreciates, short sellers are now competing with global investors for limited shares, which is pushing price up further. So basically, there's limited supply, increasing demand, and mounting pressure to cover these shorts. It's also worth mentioning it's the most shorted stock in Japan right now. So what are we seeing? Look at this green. Hello. Look at this move. So we were at $2 and we got up to $12. This is just since the beginning of May, guys, in like the last 2.5 weeks. That is a massive move. And this is something to keep an eye on. I think we could see a GameStop type deal here with the short squeeze. And we could go higher. I think we could go a lot higher. So we're going to see a lot more of this in the news, I have a feeling. But this will be fun to watch. Let's see how this plays out. Obviously, we came back down as Bitcoin came back down earlier. But man, this short squeeze will be fun to watch. I covered this a little bit yesterday. Cynthia Loomis, she basically canceled her meeting with Ripple and said that she was not going to reschedule that meeting. There's a lot of people basically trying to figure out why, speculating as to what the reason is. Is Ripple now no longer part of the plans? This report came out that said that her son-in-law in the past has called out Ripple for being fraudulent, and maybe that's why. And there's very mixed feelings below. Some people are like, "What liability?" They called out something that was a fraud, and they committed that fraud. And how else would you describe it? And other people are asking her to be removed from office. So very polarizing. When it comes to Ripple, that tends to be the case. There are people that are huge fans and people that are huge detractors. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out with Cynthia Loomis. And lastly, in the crypto news, this is pretty wild. It's a little scary, y'all. There are people that are getting robbed and drugged, and their crypto is being stolen. We've seen some kidnapping events recently, but in this case, I looked further into it over here. This tourist was basically drugged by a fake Uber driver, and they used something called devil's breath, and that like leads to memory loss, and they stole their crypto. Like, what the heck is going on here? So be really careful out there, guys. I wouldn't be like posting screenshots of your balances. I see people do that. I think most of them are lying anyway about their balances. Like, you're like, look at how much money I made. It's like, yeah, how come I've seen that same screenshot now like 20 times today across X? Like, that's obviously not you, but don't make yourself a target. I would keep that under wraps if I were you. That's my personal opinion, though. You do you. And that's the name of the game anyway. If you feel like you should take a screenshot of your balance, that means it's time to cash out. That's a top signal, guys. That's a top signal. All right. A fool and his money. Right? Seriously, though. All right. We need to talk about the broader macro economy right now because, I don't want to rain on the parade, guys. It's great. We've seen Bitcoin hit a new all-time high today. I think we could see a nice run up May and June, maybe even into July. But I think we also need to be aware of some of the threats that are lurking beneath the surface. And there are some things to be concerned about. So we are going to break into the global macro news. Well, for one, China's having a day. They poured a lot of liquidity into their markets and had a lot of stimulus, and it seems to be having its impact. Is the Fed going to do that for us? Well, we'll talk more about that. But the bond market is the main thing we need to discuss here. We've lost control of the bond market. Okay, and this is not good. The 10-year, the 30-year, they're climbing. That's not what we want to see. And it's starting to have its impact on the economy. Okay, we are seeing now mortgage rates are back above 7%. We're seeing auto loans are crossing 10%. Credit card rates are up. And this is the deal. Okay, I've talked about this several times, though, where yes, we have $9.2 trillion in debt rolling over, coming to maturation over the next 12 months. So that 10-year rate becomes a huge concern as far as servicing our debt and the interest we owe on that and how it's going to make our deficit even worse. And it becomes this negative feedback loop where the deficit's bigger, our national debt gets bigger. It's just a whole big fiasco. Test. What is this? Pickle Park cleanup crew. Testing. So this is a big deal, guys. And the big problem, let's see here. I thought I had another side. Oh, well, I talked about the impact it had on the markets here. Okay. The hedge funds. So there's a lot of talk right now about Main Street versus Wall Street. So you're talking about Main Street, you're talking about retail, us investing. Wall Street, obviously, you have the hedge funds, you have the bigger players. Hedge funds are shorting the markets. This whole rally has been mostly retail. And the question is who's right? Is there going to be a major correction where retail gets crushed? Or are the hedge funds going to come in and FOMO into the markets? If history tells us anything, I think that retail may be buying into a trap. We're seeing the market start to come down today. So today, at least, Wall Street on their shorts seems to be winning. The big problem is obviously the bond market, though, guys. And we've been talking about this a lot, and I bring it up. I'm going to continue bringing it up. And I know this is a DePIN channel, but it's all interconnected because we could have all the perfect setup for crypto, for Bitcoin, for alts. But if the overall market crashes, it's going to take us down with it, unfortunately. And that's just the nature of the beast. And the U.S. held a bond auction and there's no demand right now for our debt. People aren't coming in. Japan's no longer coming in. China now is, UK is overtaking China as the second largest bond holder. And this is a big problem for us, right? And now we were having to basically buy our own with fake money. We're printing money now to buy our own bonds, and that's not a good situation. That's what Japan has been doing for a long time. We see what's happening with Japan, and that's the next thing I'm going to talk about real quickly. But I think this does a really good job of explaining it. So I'm going to summarize what's happening. Essentially, we're seeing red across the markets. And it's a failed treasury auction that led to violent spike in yields. So if there's not enough demand for our bonds, yields spike. It's spooking the markets. We're seeing that people that are willing to buy our debt, they're going to demand a risk premium, okay, a higher yield in order to do so. And it isn't about inflation, right? It's about them taking a step back from U.S. debt issuance amid ballooning deficits and weakening auction demand. So people are seeing the writing on the wall, guys. Our debt is skyrocketing, right? Our deficits, it's not like we're getting it under control. You know, that was one of the things we were hopeful that would happen under Trump. It doesn't seem to be happening that way. It just seems like a runaway train. And it's not just us, okay? There's other countries as well, but we just happen to be in worse shape than a lot of them, okay? Not all of them, but a lot of them. And a lot of people aren't going to buy our debt. And now equities, we're seeing the stock market sell off because of this. And the dollar fell, not of the bullish kind. Again, it's people that are fleeing the dollar. Now, I will say, and I've said this several times, I don't think that the US dollar is going to lose its role as global reserve currency tomorrow. I don't think it's going to happen overnight, but we are starting to see more global trade, more oil trade, especially particularly between China and Russia happening in their own currencies. But it's something we need to get on top of before it becomes a major problem down the road. And the VIX, basically the volatility index, is showing that this was not baked in. This situation with having no appetite for our bonds was unexpected, okay? And that's why we saw the VIX surge, okay? Because it was not baked in. Now, we look at the largest bond holders. I talked about this. Japan is number one. This is important with everything going on with Japan. You have UK is taking over as number two. China is now number three. China was the largest. They were at second place for a long time. It's interesting to see UK. That means China is selling off treasuries. Not a shock. Not a shock. So, you know, this is the question. Like, what are we going to do to create demand for our treasuries? Because this is the number one thing that can help things, that can keep this bull market going, at least for now, and kind of push this off a bit. Number one, I want to play this. This has to do, I played this the other day, but I think it's really important for people to hear. And I need to share just the tab here. Oops. So I can play the audio for y'all. Tab, here we go. Okay, stick it up there.
World, and it will also increase demand for treasury bills here in America, which is a good thing as well.
Can you explain that? I need to explain that. Why would it increase demand for treasury securities, treasury bills and bonds?
Because the stablecoin legislation requires that each dollar stablecoin be backed fully by either a dollar in cash or short-term treasuries. To do that, the stablecoin issuer has to go and purchase short-term treasuries. Already, stablecoin issuers are large owners of treasuries, and by 2030, Citi projects that stablecoin issuers will be the largest owner of U.S. treasuries in the world.
Woo! That's a big deal. Okay. By 2030, it's expected that stablecoin issuers will be the largest treasury holders in the world. It is worth noting they did say shorter term duration treasuries. So that doesn't necessarily going to bail us out on the longer term duration ones, but that's a big deal nonetheless, because that brings in a whole new buyer for us on our treasuries and creates demand that is much, much needed right now. The other thing I think we're going to start seeing more of is this SLR, entry leverage ratio, which is basically a requirement regarding banks and their leverage exposure. And I want to play a clip here on this as well, explaining how this is going to be. This is going to be something that's going to be talked about in the news very soon. There's a lot of talk already about deregulation, and this is a lever they're going to pull essentially to allow our banks to buy more treasuries than what they have today. Let me pull this up for y'all.
What the SLR exemption would do would free up balance sheet capacity from the largest, banks in the U.S., like the domestic financial system, and allow them to buy more treasuries. So that's your break glass.
So this is going to be a big deal here pretty soon. You hear more and more about this SLR exemption, allowing our bank to increase demand for our treasuries. Because again, this is the elephant in the room, if you will, is the bond market. And we need to increase demand. We're not seeing it from Japan right now. We're not seeing it from China right now. UK has been pretty much in line with where they've been with their holdings. We need to increase more demand. We can do it domestically, but we need to loosen up some of the regulation on our banks to allow them to buy more treasuries. This is going to be a big talking point in the coming weeks, in my opinion. The other thing, and this is not, there's no source or verification on this, is my kind of speculation. This trip to the Middle East with Trump, how he, got them to pledge trillions of dollars in investment into the U.S. I wouldn't be surprised if part of that is getting them to buy our treasuries. Joe said, is Julie's show on X or YouTube? On both. She's on every day at 3 o'clock Central Standard Time. She's on X and YouTube. So make sure to hop over there, guys. Show her some love. I know you will, Joe. Just kidding. All right. So again, if we look at this, Saudi Arabia, they're holding 125 billion right now. So nowhere near one of our largest holders. You have UAE down there at 104. That actually increased recently. That wasn't that big before. So that trip over to the Middle East, they pledged trillions of dollars in investment. I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see some announcements of those countries buying some U.S. treasuries. Again, that is what we need right now. Now, the other thing to talk about before we move on to some of the a couple of global news stories, has to do with Japan. Japan is seeing very much the same thing we're seeing, where they're not able to get buyers on their U.S. treasuries. And that's a big problem for them. It's also a big problem for us. Okay. For one, they're our largest treasury holder, as I just showed. They could start selling off. If they start selling off our treasuries and moving that into the yen, that causes a whole world of issues for us. For one, it would push our yields up even further, which obviously has huge impact on all the lending in our economy, for one. Refinancing our debt for another, right? The other thing is this reverse carry trade with Japan, and that's a big, big problem for us. And we saw this last August. I've talked about this several times, so sorry if I'm boring you guys, but I have to continue bringing this up because this is a huge deal. It's happening right now in front of our eyes. Last August, we saw this start to unwind. People go over there, will pull out, excess capital at very low interest rates over in Japan because they've kept their rates artificially low using their own bank, basically print and buy their own debt. They take excess capital over there, they move it into US dollars and they invest it in, our stock market. They invest it in real estate. And that works as long as the US dollar remains, keeps its strength against the Japan yen. But now we're seeing that the long duration bonds in Japan are rising. And the bank so far has not stepped in to keep those lower again. And things are unwinding with this trade. And this is what caused last August a massive sell-off in our stock market. We saw crypto get crushed. Okay. This is a huge concern. And in my opinion, there's really two ways this can go. And this is what we have to keep an eye on. Japan can do what they've done in the past, which is print more money using the Bank of Japan, buy their own debt to create demand for their bonds and push rates back down to save the global economy. Or, by the way, that will cause inflation. This is what we're facing right now. If we end up just printing money to buy our own debt and we don't find alternative routes to do that, we're going to do this. We're going to be in the same situation. Or they can just watch their bond market implode and basically kill the global economy. Not to say we won't bounce back, but it will absolutely be very, very painful if this happens. Oh, man. So we have to really, really be careful on this. The other thing that we have to keep an eye on, and this is I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, but we need to be aware of what's going on here. It does appear that the tariff negotiations may not be going as well as people had hoped. And the market is largely pricing in that we're going to get deals done. I don't think the market's expecting things to not go very well. And this seems to be what's happening right now. Some of these other countries are like, yeah, no, screw you, basically. We'll see if this is real. This is according to Bloomberg. Okay. But we had that 90-day pause, y'all, and that's coming up. Now, you better believe that, people are going to, if we get close and we're not getting trade deals done, people are going to start selling off before we get to that 90-day cliff. So I wouldn't want to be holding that long. Now, could you hold on, get lucky, and we get a bunch of deals done in like the 23rd hour? Sure. But I would definitely be keeping an eye on that. If things start to go downhill in these negotiations, it's another threat to our markets. So we should be excited about the Bitcoin all-time high. We should be excited about alt starting to pump, but we also, we need to be aware of the risks out there, and there are a lot of them at the moment. All right. Someone said, thank you so much. Of course, Julie. Of course. Always try to push people to your stream. Julie brings the energy, y'all. She always brings the energy. That's my brother down in Dallas. always try to bring some good updates. All right, y'all. That's what I got on the macro news. I always wanted to be a full-time crypto DJ. I'm forced to work most boring, tedious corporate job, endless Excel docs and command line terminals. Well, man, I don't know. Do you know how to do macros? I always hated doing macros on Excel back in college, man. But you probably know some pretty cool shortcuts in Excel. You got to bring back the channel, Joe. You always brought good energy too. And it was fun doing live streams with you. All right. Let's get to the global news. We'll have some fun stories to cover here as we close out. Man, this is some, check out these robots over here doing your chores for you. This is what's coming, y'all. Can you imagine how many marriages this will save? You're not yelling about who's taking out the trash anymore. Who's cleaning up? It's coming. It's coming. Wow. I hope they're using bounty. There's no way one piece is going to clean up that shit without doubt. Come on now. We know. We're vacuuming the floor. Guys, if we weren't lazy enough, now we can be super lazy. This is great. All right. Well, that's what's coming, y'all. That's what's coming. I feel like most inventions at this point are a way to make us do less and think less. I mean, really, think about that. Most of the things in our lives make us lazier. It's on us, though, to keep pushing every day. All right. This is wild. 650-year-old building. They did a restoration like 12 months ago, and it's like, this is modern day construction in a nutshell. Check this out. All it took for us is to come in and mess this thing up. Oh, man. Oh, we missed the very beginning of it. Hold on. Let's get to the very beginning is when the collapse. Look at that. Yeah. This is why we can't have nice things, guys. Going and touch this historic building. All right. Looks like Google is coming out with some what they call their Aura glasses to challenge Meta and Apple. That'll be interesting. I don't own these things, but they're starting to look more sleek. Maybe one day. Maybe one day. Oh, I saw this is like crazy. This is kind of ridiculous. Department of Homeland Security is considering the creation of a television show in which migrants would compete for potential U.S. citizenship. Like, is that freaking serious? What is that? That is ridiculous. If anything, maybe it would expose how inefficient our immigration system is and why it needs to be massively improved. Maybe that would help. Trump announced the Golden Dome. So you guys know the Iron Dome with Israel. We're essentially looking to protect our country from missiles. It's I guess the beginning down payment's like $20 billion. And he said it will be completed by the end of his presidency. there have been some reports about China like testing out some pretty wild missiles. Russia obviously has some as well. So this is probably not a horrible idea. And I think Canada is also looking to get involved in this as well to protect the whole of North America. And the last thing I'll say, Caitlin Clark, for you sports fans out there, she is truly a historic player. She is these 20 and 10-point games. It only took her 41 games to get there. We have not seen that in the WNBA to this point. So pretty cool stuff there. Zerp twerp. Yeah, I went into Discord yesterday and I responded to a few messages. So send me another message. So it's at the top. I have a lot of scammers reaching out to me. I'm sure you all do too on Discord. So I went into my messages, but I have a lot of like BS messages through there. So I tried to find it. I did respond to somebody about a B fleet. I thought it was you, but I guess it's not. So sorry about that. I had a conversation with someone yesterday. So they got the fruits of your labor, my man. But yeah, send me another message on there. And so it's at the top. I'll get in my Discord today for you. What else do we got here? You tried the augmented reality glasses. Audio is awesome and pretty cool. Not something I want though. That's fair. Was a furry or some weird character in the game. Bunch of weirdos. Yeah. I have nothing to say about furries, man. Anyway, that's furries with glasses is just wrong. That's funny. Oh, that's funny. Well, y'all, that is the show for today. We covered a lot. We covered a lot of cool things. I am going to start parsing these things out. I'm going to start posting them as separate videos to make it easier to digest for people that don't want to watch the whole thing. Although maybe I should make you watch the whole thing. I'm just kidding. But I appreciate you all for coming on today. And again, if you're out in Vegas next week, definitely hit us up. We're going to do a DePIN get together one evening. So that should be fun. Get some FaceTime with people. And I will be back. You know what? Tomorrow might be a little bit late tomorrow. I have a doctor's appointment at noon. So depends. It might be later, maybe like after Julie's show. We'll see what time looks like on that. But as always, guys, I appreciate you all. Joe, appreciate you too, bringing your funny takes, and everybody else. Zerp Twerp, my brother, Julie. We've got Justin out there. Who else we get into there today? Haywood, Jim, Alpha Junkies. Appreciate all you guys. Bob's in there too. We had a good turnout today. All right, y'all. Make sure to like and share. Have a fantastic day. Cheers.